Hi guys, welcome to Q&A with Coach Rebecca. I am Rebecca Smith, a high performance coach and the founder and director of Complete Performance Coaching, which is a group of highly skilled performance experts, performance psychology experts, who specialize in helping young athletes get from where you want to be to get from where you are to where you want to be. And a lot of this is based on just mental skills training. In this culture, we spend a lot of time working on the physical technique of sport, but then forget about the most valuable and most important muscle to a young athlete, which is their brain. So I'm going to be answering some questions today on end of season meets. And a lot of us, in the gymnastics community are coming up on state meets and regionals and nationals. So now is when all you anxious stress cases really start to jitter. And so I'm going to answer a couple questions from members of the Perform Happy community. And for those of you who are not familiar with what that is the Complete Online Mental Toughness Training Center that you can become a member of, which gives you direct access to me, my coaching, my personal coaching through the forums. And I have basically recorded every training, every technique, every method that I have so that you can pick and choose exactly what you need for a fraction of the cost of hiring a coach one-on-one. But also if you want a one-on-one coach, you got me and you've got 3 other fabulous resources for that. So here we go. Here's our first question. Tina is wondering with her, she's talking about her daughter's a gymnast. With her last regular competition of the season this weekend, we would love to get some tips on how to brush off a bad event before moving on to the next. Okay, so that's a great question because when there's pressure, sometimes kids have a much harder time letting things go. And the best thing that any athlete can do under pressure is let things go. The best athletes are not perfect. They are really quick to course correct. And that's part of flow. That's part of what I base a lot of my trainings on, is this concept of finding flow, which is where everything clicks in and goes really well and your training shines through and everybody's happy. It's wonderful. This is what we want. But in order to get to flow, you have to know if you are veering off course. You have to know what you're aiming for. Obviously you're aiming to execute one skill at a time very, very well. And if you're off, you pull it right back in. If you're off, you pull it right back in. Now, let's say you have just a horrible performance. Now, you guys, a horrible performance is not a bad thing. Well, of course, it's like, oh, it's the end of the world. I'm supposed to qualify. This is important. But from my perspective, because I see the big picture, whenever I work with athletes, I'm always like, look at the big picture, open it up, see how big this picture actually can be. Because we get so laser focused on this one meet that really matters. When even if you completely bomb it, you will gain some seriously valuable information that will help you become a stronger competitor in the future. No matter what happens, no matter what waves or upsets you hit, they're part of your personal sport journey. So the first thing to know is that if you have a bad event, it's just that. And it's probably not even bad. I hate the word bad. It just is. So you look at it and go, all right, this didn't go as planned. And a lot of the time, those frustrations or those inability to let it go, where you're stomping around and huffing and puffing and crying and you're like, oh, well, what's the point? That's because you had expectations. You had expectations of yourself, which obviously we all have expectations. We all want to go in and, train our butts off 5, 6, 7 days a week and then go and have something to show for it, right? Yeah. But expectations equal frustration, basically. If you have an expectation, I need to hit 4 events, 4 for 4. I need to hit all 5 events in practice. I need to hit all 5 routines in practice. If you're a guy, you got 6 events. Girls, we only have 4. If I need to do, it's expecting perfection is the best way to get yourself frustrated. So the best way to look at it is, if you are frustrated, if you find yourself in that down in the dumps, I really messed this one up, oh my gosh, this matters moment, you want to stop and see if you can examine, okay, what was my expectation here? And there's kind of like a 3-step process that you can do with that. First, you want to identify what is the expectation. The expectation was I would stay on the balance beam. I expected myself to do, a 9.75 routine or a perfect routine, or I expected myself to make all of my routines today at the meet. Okay, so you've acknowledged. And then you also acknowledge, like, I am mad at myself because I fell on that stupid skill. I'm giving you permission to go, I expected to make all my routines today. I expected this to be a good meet, and I am mad at myself for that happening. This stinks. Okay, that's the first part. Acknowledge it, have a moment. You can, but of course, do it with sportsmanship. It's never encouraged to like really have a good huff and puff. Like if you need to and you have a second, excuse yourself, go to the bathroom and be mad. I expected to make up all my events. I am mad. This stinks. Okay, so that's the first thing. You're allowed to do that. Next, figure out, what are you trying to create there? I'm trying to have a good meet. I really wanted to have a good meet. And like, what is that expectation? I expect to be perfect is basically the one that most of the kids I work with, like, I expect to be perfect, or I am upset, or I expect to be really good, or I expect to be on under pressure. Whatever those expectations are, I'm not saying like good or bad, but you want to just acknowledge, okay, I expected this. Then see if you can let it go and go, all right, so that was my expectation. Now what's reality? Reality is I have 3 more events and that's it. And then you let it go. So I always recommend when I teach people, I call them bounce back routines. Take a second to acknowledge the frustration. This stinks. Then kind of get a little reality check on it. Like, well, I was really putting a lot of pressure on myself, and you know what? I did this well, and that turn went great. My dismount was good, and yeah, it was a bummer that I fell. But now, what's reality? I have 3 more events. Take a deep breath and let it go. You had your moment. You got to be mad. You realize you had too much. You had these really high expectations for yourself, and now you can go, all right, now what am I going to do? And again, we don't want to go into the next event with a big expectation, like I have to get the next 3 perfect for this to be worth my time. No, the focus really for you to do your very best should be on one skill at a time. That's it. And this, no matter what sport you're in, when you're performing, when you're under pressure, one thing at a time. That's it. If you're in the moment and you're like, okay, now I'm doing my turn. Now I'm finishing my turn. And now I'm doing some poses. And now I'm doing my jumps. Good job. Those were good jumps. Okay, now I'm doing my acro. Hey, nice work. That's all you really want to have going through your mind. Now, I train people to actually figure out in advance what your mental routine is going to be. And that's, it's been called mental choreography, whatever you want to call it. It's basically having a routine for your body that matches the routine for your mind. And again, in any sport you're in, you can figure out ways to make this possible. Especially, it's super easy in gymnastics or swimming where you have a very consistent thing that you do. So you can actually have a word or a beat or something you look at or something that's linked into each skill, because it allows you to keep your focus on your skills and not on the outcome or the expectations or the pressure. And obviously, if you have your state meet this weekend, which I love how many emails I got in the last week that were like, my kid has a state meet this weekend, can you fix her? I'm like, okay, we need a little more time than a week, you guys. That's why I have, these courses that you can start into during the off season that prepare you to have all the systems in place for when you go in. That's what you need. You need it. Like, you can't start learning how to do gymnastics like the week before the meet, right? Same goes with your mind. So for those of you, big picture, okay, we might be starting off now learning some lessons. Get all of those skills and tricks under your belt before next season, so that next season you can go out there and be super confident and totally rock it. But anyway, I digress. Okay, so a similar question, which I'm going to go back to the mental choreography, but I got a similar question. She says, my oldest is a senior. This is her last state meet. Her meet this past weekend didn't go well at all. Now she's fearful she won't qualify for regionals. How to handle self-doubt, self-imposed pressure, and how to stay focused on each event so she can perform her best. And then she has another question for parents after. Okay, so basically it's the same solution, but there's a course in the Perform Happy community called Automatic Self-Trust, and it teaches these 3 layers of how to get yourself to self-trust. And that's basically flow. That's that experience of, hey, I trained, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to do my best. It's an enjoyable experience. You do the best you can. You're open. You typically are thriving when you're really trusting yourself. If you have put in the work to get yourself to the point where your technique is trustable. So the foundation of self-trust is concentration, focus, being present, being in the moment, thinking only about execution of one skill at a time. Are we sensing a theme here? Okay, then once you have your focus dialed in, that you know, once you get up on that beam, you are thinking about only that leg you're supposed to be squeezing, or only that sensation of pushing through your toes. You are so in your body that you aren't anywhere else. You aren't trying to stick a whole routine. You aren't worrying about your dismount. You aren't worrying about the next event. You are just pushing through your toes, and then you are bending your knees and landing. It's like little tiny bits. That's when you start to build the confidence that comes from knowing that you can't be derailed, that you only focus on what you're supposed to focus on, which I help you guys in the Finding Flow course actually choreograph your mind to match your routine. So if you haven't done that yet, you members, go in and check it out. I think it's Flow sessions 7 and 8 are all about focus, and then you get a whole one on choreographing your mind. So that then you've got your confidence, and then your composure comes on top of that, where you completely know that you concentrate the way you're supposed to, which builds this a massive amount of confidence that comes from not worrying, not doubting yourself, not thinking about what could go wrong. You're just in the moment, and you've done the work in practice to then lean on that in competition. So if you have a chance, I know you're like, we have a meet in 4 days. Go through that Automatic Self-Trust course. I think it's 5 half-an-hour sessions. And Mom also said, how do I get her to listen to these videos? My younger daughter does. My older daughter's resistant. Do it in the car. That's the thing. If you're a senior in high school and you've got all this homework and all this training, it's hard to be like, here's another thing you should do for an hour every week. So most people, they work it in where it fits. Instead of trying to make room for mental training, put it where it fits. Put it, in the car on the way to practice. If you're in the car for 15 minutes, you can get the first half of the training on the way there, the second half of the training on the way back. You can get 5 trainings done in 1 week if you need to, if you have a 15-minute car ride. So get creative and, make it so that it's not an extra thing. It's just something that you add into something you're already doing. If you have to walk the dog, you can put your headphones in and you can listen to a training while you go. That's the cool thing about the community, is that it's completely portable to work with your busy student athlete lives. So that's my suggestion for that, is just make it easy for her. And if she's resistant, she's resistant. You can lead a horse to water, right? And little sister's sticking her beam routine because she's watching videos. So, obviously be sensitive with how you pitch that. But, so, okay, then the next question, she says, that's it. How do I suggest you listen to the videos? Okay, that's what I suggest. And I have obviously the whole parenting course in there that teaches you how to talk to your kids, and less is more. And it is always so frustrating. We have the big parents group in the Perform Happy community. It's a big Facebook group, and we'll be like, success videos, and there will be the one mom who's like, my kid won't watch the videos. I'm like, we can't make her. You gotta just stay neutral, and you learn. You show her, you model the type of behavior that you want her to have, and then when she's ready, it's there. But I know, we just want to beat it into them and be like, here's the solution, just pick it up and use it. But such is parenting teenagers, right? I'm in for it with my 2 little girls that I'll have. Okay, so I think we're out of time. Shoot, I had one more question to answer, but I'll have to get to it next time. Mostly it's about focus. So if you can get yourself to be in the moment And in the sensation, one last little thing on those moments where you are like just down, down, down because you've messed up and you feel like, what's the point? I already screwed up my first event or whatever it is. You hit a low spot. Acknowledge it and feel it. Look at the reality of the situation. I still have 3 events left to go. I love pulling out your hand and finding 5 things you're grateful for. That can kind of reorient your mind toward what's going well. You know, what did I do well on that routine? Try to kind of snap into the positive and just go out and do your best and stay in the moment. Then, but if you're like really tweaked by something, if something is just like, ugh, I can't believe I did that, I'm so mad. Take a second and feel it in your body. You know, do you feel it in your stomach? Do you feel like a burning in your chest? I remember the first time that I stopped and was like, what is this feeling? And it was anger. It was like, ugh, this like burning in my chest. I don't like this. And I just like, took a second and felt it. It doesn't make it necessarily go away, but it allows you just to kind of sit with it and go, okay, there you are, anxiety. There you are, anger. There you are, sadness. Whatever that feeling is that feels like too much. If you just give it attention and go, I'm feeling that in my arm or I'm feeling that in my leg. And you just breathe into it. You take, 3, 4, 5 deep breaths into that sensation instead of running from it. A lot of the time it will kind of process out. And then you go, all right, what's next? Next, we're going to beam. What can I do to make it better? We're going to floor. What can I do to make that? What one skill at a time can I do next? All right, you guys, those of you who are members of the community, of course, you can find me in the parent Facebook group or in the forums, and we'll continue our Q&A that way. Otherwise, I will see you guys again next week, Tuesday at our regular time, 4:30 Pacific. See you then. Bye.